All right, everyone. Welcome. Casual Friday is what it is here. Looking at the latest data on snow on Saturday, we are in a difficult forecast scenario, I will call it, across central Iowa. I don't think this system's going to completely fall apart, but I am questioning the southern end on just how much snow we can see. We are streaming on WOI, variety of locations there. We're streaming on my Facebook page, Chris Kuball Meteorologist. If you want to interact with me, that's going to be the place I'm going to be tracking the comments. We're also streaming on YouTube as well. I do appreciate subscribing and liking the video. It'll help distribute my content across the platform. Big news in the sports world tonight. Coach Matt Campbell with Iowa State is out. We've already hired a new coach too. I apologize, I'm blanking on his name, but he's the head coach from Washington State. So something tells me this was in the works for a while. Okay, let's go over, show you the graphics now that we have a few people on. Here's the current scenario. Winter storm warning in pink, winter weather advisory in purple. I would say along the I-80 corridor and points southwards, I am not sold on significant snow at this point. Just looking at the data, I think we're seeing kind of a more northerly low setting up, and that's going to wrap in that dry slot, and it just does not look all too promising at this point. I've been parsing over the latest data through the evening here, and that's the way the trend started today, and I think we're going to keep it going. So I already made some changes to the forecast in the southern parts of our forecast area in the middle third of Iowa, and I think we'll have to even take things a little bit more extreme. So north of I-80, I think, is where the bulk of this storm is going to be, northern Iowa especially. I do think that winter storm warning is aptly placed, may need to expand northwards just a touch, in fact. So that's what I'm currently thinking on this. Again, if you want to jump in on the conversation, Chris Kuball, meteorologist, is going to be where I'm tracking the comments. Okay, couple things I want to run you through is the snow ensemble first. I'll just show you the raw output and kind of what it is saying. Now, I believe there's going to be a text box that pops up on here. If there is, just ignore that. I haven't updated it. Model number 1, I believe this is the Euro. Why don't I just jump into the snow ensemble so I can manually drag it. Okay, this is model number 1, which is the Euro, in case you're keeping tabs at home. This is this morning's run. It is one of the more further south solutions. While it's been very persistent in holding it like this, the cams are really starting to come in and pounding things a little bit further to the north. This is the GFS, also a further south model. Both of these are global models and are not quite as resolute as the cams. And we'll go into the GEFS, and this is the ensemble of the GFS. Okay, so those are the three most furthest south of the bunch. We've already showed you those first three, so let's go to model number 4 here. Okay, so this is getting into the NAM, which is largely an obsolete model at this point. It's no longer seeing any development at this stage in the game, but notice that northern shift. Now we're going to run into the graph, which is proprietary to our weather graphics provider. Okay, northern. And this is the HR. So you can see amongst the cams, models 4, 5, and 6, I should say the NAM's a regional model, but 5 and 6, and there's others that I don't necessarily ingest into the system that are holding more of a northern line. The cams are keeping things north. I'll show you here in a moment. First, I want to go and show you the forecast have been holding through the afternoon. And I think we might have to trim a little bit on this southern edge. Good news is my range is already down to trace, so I may not actually have to trim all too much. I may just lower that to 1 and maybe trace down near the border. But kind of right around the I-80 corridor is probably what's going to need to be the most massaged at this point. 5.7, that looks good. Oops, that's the wrong keyboard. Those of you in Minnesota that might be following on my stream, why don't I go ahead and pull up the snow forecast for the region. And this has been my thoughts throughout most of the day. I'm starting to become more convinced that we'll see some numbers maybe exceed that 7-inch mark. Is pulling it from the cloud, so it takes a second to load in the data when we're not in play mode. And so you can see kind of the trend here. North Iowa, extreme southern Minnesota, kind of the breadwinners out of this one. Big key difference from last weekend, in case you're wondering, this is going to be a bit of a drier snow, more fluff factor, if you will. And in the end, that lets it stack up a little bit more easily. You get a little more bang for your buck for the moisture, so to speak. I think we're looking at about a 1/2 inch moisture-wise out of the snow, and probably a snow ratio of about 15 to 1 out of this. So it's a little bit of a drier snow, and so that will mean some slightly higher totals. This is also going to be a little bit more swiftly moving through. A shorter time period we're dealing with it, but in the intensity might actually be a little bit more than what we saw last weekend, which last weekend was more of a long, drawn-out event. Now, don't get me wrong, there were some decent pops of snow in there, but this will be a little bit more of a heavy hit out of this. What else are we talking about? Oh, there's a little bit of a breeze. Gust to 25, I think, is going to be doable out of this scenario. And with the consistency of the snow, it will blow around just a little bit. Sean is asking any increase to the metro totals, and I think on the contrary here, Sean, I'm likely leaning to dropping that top end down just a little bit. I'm seeing a lot of signal that's pointing to a northern flare to this storm system. So why don't I, one second here. Come on. Why is it not selecting my web browser? Well, come on now. There we go. Finally did it. I couldn't get it to take my web browser. This is raw HRRR. I often call it just the HRRR data. I want to show you down at the surface here. First and foremost, I got to go to the 0Z model. The heart of the low, you see it right here. This is pretty far north. This is a pretty far north solution. So what happens here is you really start to pull in that dry air around this area of low pressure. And so that in turn shoves the deformation band a little bit further to the north. So once again, I think North Iowa is going to be where it's at. There might even be a little bit of a mix on that southern edge. This has drifted pretty far north from runs earlier this morning. Even 18Z run was pretty high at this juncture. Let me show you in the regional, the Euro on the same. In fact, I have to pull out just a little bit just for you to be able to see. It's not as tight of a low, but it's definitely further to the south in northern Missouri, as you see right here. So that's the key differences in kind of the cams in the global models at this point. And with so many now starting to say it, it's really making me sway, my decision. I want to check this out because this was just coming in. Yeah, even this has taken more of a northerly flare. Let me get into Iowa here. So this is going to be a 4-panel of pre-type. So you see, yeah, northern Iowa is where it's at. This WRF run is still keeping a southerly contingent to it. Let me go to the NAM 3K, which is a cam. Most of it's going to be in the northern part of Iowa there. Let me just show you the raw amounts. So even still, the numbers, this puts it up near the Minnesota-Iowa state line fairly well, and only 1 inch to 2 inches in the Des Moines metro, and nothing down near the Missouri border. What was I on? I was on the WRF, wasn't I? So 2 to 3 in the Des Moines metro, northern Iowa focus for that 5, 6, 7 inch range, and then very little down near the border. I mean, I'm not going to bail on it completely, but I do think that northerly trend is generally the way to go out of this. The upper level support isn't the greatest out of this. There's not a huge jet that's driving it locally. Let me get to the HR again, and I want to show you the upper level moisture. Let's go to 700. Got to go back to 0Z. I'm sorry if this is boring to you. I'm just kind of analyzing here. So that initial pop arrives of moisture into the afternoon, but here's that drying coming in as we go into the evening in the south. So this would be that dry slot to watch, kind of getting wrapped in around in the system. We'll go to 500. It's even more pronounced, but you'd expect that up there. This is down about a mile above the surface at 850. A little bit more drying there in the southern part of the state compared to the north, but not overly so. And then we start getting close to surface level moisture in the heart of the low. But even still, it has some over southwestern Iowa. So I'm concerned with the dry slot a little bit and the overall northern trend with this system. This is 700 wind. Saturday evening. Why don't I show the soundings and see what we can pick out? All right, this is for KDSM. I need to get our HR 0Z. Okay, so this is Saturday afternoon. The initial saturization of the mid-levels, we got it here as we go towards 5 o'clock in Des Moines. We have it, we have it, we have it, and then we start to lose just a little bit around midnight from the top down. There's pretty good lift in here, and the DGZ matches up, so I mean, it's there, but not solidly. This is early, probably before most of it arrives, and then we start the drying. So really just a couple hour window in Des Moines, suggested from the HR here that we see a significant opportunity. Once we go past midnight, we start losing the omega. That's the blue right there, if you can see. And it's a difficult scenario to look at. Let me go to our ensembles here. It's getting pretty close to do ensemble-based forecasting in the short range. I love it in days 3 through 10 to use it, but at this stage it gets difficult. You're really trying to find the specific details, and that gets washed out in the ensembles. This is the 18Z ensemble. Still, all the members with the Euro are still showing it, and the middle 50% of the data is between 1 to 3 inches, but it's just not the case for the HR and really the rest of the cams. The NBM, wrong NBM. So this is what the National Weather Service heavily bases, a lot of their forecasting on. And this is the latest run of the NBM. Their afternoon forecasts were based on this as well. But this is 10 to 1. So it hasn't shifted really a ton from the last 3 runs, really at all. That's a little bit more pronounced from 15 to 18. But this is in 10 to 1, so if you factor it 15 to 1, so take this times 1.5, that's what you end up. You end up closer to that 8-inch range. So, I'm probably going to trim a little bit on the southern edge off the high end of the ranges. So everything along I-80 and points southwards, I'm probably going to lower the high end just a little bit. So as far as travel, in case you're wondering, so this is not going to be the worst storm ever for travel. Ooh, my chair sunk just a little bit, 1 second. Anytime we have snow around here, though, right, you just need to slow down. That's just what we got to do. Travel's going to be doable, really, at all points in this storm. And by doable, I mean you're going to be able to drive to and from, provided there's not an accident that, closes the road. But the weather conditions will not close roads or anything like that. Won't be the easiest drive. You'll have to go slow. If you don't have to be out, always, I'll just say, don't go out. I mean, it's just not worth it. All it takes is one subtle little mistake and things can just domino from there. But we also, so much is out of our control. You're more reliant on other drivers, right, to be on their best as well. You can't see the lane markings, and there's going to be a bit of blowing snow out there too, so that's not going to help either. So is it going to be doable? Are you going to be able to travel? Yes. That's why I'm giving it a condition yellow here. I just sunk a little bit more. I don't know if you saw that. I'm going to give it a condition yellow both Saturday afternoon and Sunday morning. We do have a weather impact alert going from 3 p.m. to noon on Sunday, 3 p.m. Saturday to noon on Sunday. Come on, graphic, load. I'll field any questions if you want to jump onto the Chris Kuball Meteorologist page. If you're watching somewhere else, go ahead and drop into the comments. I'm tracking things there. This chair sunk down. I'm like barely on the screen now. But yeah, I think northern Iowa is due for a good 5 to 7 inches of snow up to about the state line. How's everyone's night going? It's a nice, easy, leisurely Friday night. Not too much happening across the state. Temperatures right now are mild. We're above freezing in most locations. Now that's going to be changing. We do have colder air that's pooling just to the north and west, and that wind is shifting around to the northwest tonight. So we will fall. We'll get there. We're just not there yet. I'd say after midnight we'll start to fall. Let me get in a better position. I'll show you the temperatures. Temperatures up to our northwest. How are we sitting? Actually holding at this point. 35 in Sioux Falls. We do have some 20s, Fargo and Minneapolis. Tomorrow, I think daytime high is going to be about 29 for Des Moines, but likely the temperature continues to rise beyond sunset. So I only like to give the daytime portion high temperature. If the high happens just before midnight, is that what you really want to see on the graphic, or do you want to see something when most of us are going to be awake. So that's how I operate, like if you're watching on the 10-day. Anywho's, that's going to be kind of my update. We have some people dropping off here, and I think I'll drop off as well. I'm going to kind of analyze things a little bit more and maybe make some updates on things. Medium impacts on the travel scene. I think that's going to be the northern part of Iowa. This is always a fun graphic. The winter storm severity index. So this kind of, quantifies that risk, if you will. It takes a second to load. It's reading in some KML data. So this is pinning really yellow over the northern 2/3 of Iowa, with a couple of sprinkles of orange in there. Like I mentioned, this is not, the worst storm system we've ever seen. It is going to slow the travel scene, though. Probably, again, going to trim on our northern or high side of our southern communities in the forecast. This has been what I've been going, and we've been kind of mentioning all the uncertainty south of I-80, and it's still there. So let's take a look at where our storm is here briefly, and I'll let you go. But what I've been looking at is kind of, it's a little bit further north at this point than what some of the southern data is saying as well. So there's our system. We'd especially be watching this spoke coming in out of Montana. So, yeah, I don't like it. It's a tough one for the I-80 corridor and points southwards, but I'm leaning to less and less impact in these areas. Highway 30 and north, I think, is going to be bigger type impact. So I'll leave you on what I've been running as my snow forecast. I think I'll probably trim up the high side just a little bit on those southern communities, I-80 and points southwards. So get ready for that update. I hope you all have had a great Friday evening. I got to go get ready for a show. I'm kind of casual tonight. This is the way I like to kick it sometimes between the shows. It's better than wearing a suit at night, at least for me. But we get a decent crowd that's built back on. If anyone has any questions, I'll answer. I do appreciate you jumping on, showing the support you show Local 5 and myself. I try to keep things as real as possible with you. Just want to mention there's so many sources of information out there, and there are many that are just not the best. There are so many that are in it for clicks and shares, and quite frankly, just to earn money off your clicks and shares. And just know that I'm never going to steer you down a path that is like that. I want to be a reliable, trusted source for you. So if you ever see me animated about something, because I'm typically a pretty conservative guy when it comes to forecasting. If you see me pretty animated about something, severe weather, winter weather, or the otherwise, yeah, please trust what I have to say. I appreciate you. Hope this changes to the south drastically overnight, Adam says. I would love it. I am a winter fanatic. I lived in the land of 10,000 lakes for 15 years, and I bought a snowmobile, if that says anything, rather than a boat. Do you think Ames will get added into the warning? I do not, Gage. I think this is more of a northerly feel, probably even more north than Ames is at the moment. Let me roll through the short range ensemble again. The first couple of models are going to be our global models, which have more of a southerly emphasis. but then you start to see first three, and then the final three are lifting further north. And these are more fine and resolute models. In my opinion, they're better because they let you see the finer details. Now, you still have to sift through them and kind of compare and contrast to what's happening now, and also use that knowledge that I learned in school to try to analyze things a little bit for you to figure out which one's right. And I think that northerly trend is right. Maybe not quite as extreme with the high-end amounts that, say, this Model 6 is showing, but I am concerned that it's holding the correct depiction of the south side with kind of a sharp cutoff there as things drop off. Thanks, Gage. I do appreciate that. I appreciate the words. Thanks for jumping on with me tonight. So, I'm going to jump off here, friends. Thank you for joining me. I'll have an update at, well, not 10 because we have football on tonight, so probably closer to 10:30 if you want to, catch my latest thoughts then. Otherwise, meteorologist Joe Farrell, who's doing a wonderful job, by the way, please show him the support. Give him a follow as well. He's going to carry over the forecasting duties as we go into the weekend and keep you updated with some streams as well. So thanks so much, everyone. I'm going to leave it at that, and hope you all have a great night and a great weekend.